Wait before you scroll past this, take a second. If you or someone you know worked for years, especially before 1997, this could mean real money coming back into your life. We're not talking about a small adjustment or a minor update buried in paperwork. We're talking about a change that could put hundreds, even thousands of extra dollars into your pocket every single year. And here's the part that should get your attention immediately. Most people who qualify don't even realize this is happening right now. This isn't speculation, and it's not something being debated. It's already been confirmed. So if you came here to find out whether you're missing out on money you've already earned, you're exactly where you need to be. Now, let's get into it, because this is something you don't want to put off or assume you'll figure out later. This update has the potential to directly affect your monthly income in a way that actually changes your day-to-day life. If you've ever worked in a role connected to public service, or if your career included time both inside and outside the Social Security system, then what we're about to walk through could apply to you in a very real way. And not just you, but your spouse, your family, even survivors who may have been impacted without fully understanding why. So settle in for a moment, because this isn't just another policy change. This is something that corrects a long-standing issue, one that quietly affected millions of people for decades without ever getting the attention it deserved. For years, there has been a hidden problem built deep into how Social Security benefits were calculated. It wasn't something most people talked about. It didn't show up in bold headlines or get widely explained in simple terms. Instead, it lived inside complex formulas and technical rules that most Americans never had a reason or the ability to fully understand. But the effects were very real. This issue impacted people who spent part of their careers working in jobs that didn't pay into Social Security, but later worked in roles that did, or vice versa. And we're talking about people who dedicated their lives to meaningful work. Teachers who spent decades in classrooms shaping the future. Firefighters who put their lives on the line. Police officers who worked long hours to keep communities safe. Nurses in public hospitals, government employees at every level, postal workers, and so many others who served their communities in ways that mattered. These weren't people trying to game the system. They were simply people who worked in different sectors over the course of their careers. But because of how the rules were written, they ended up facing reductions in the benefits they had rightfully earned. Two specific provisions were responsible for this, and they've been affecting people quietly for a long time. One was called the windfall elimination provision, and the other was known as the government pension offset. Most people had never even heard of them, yet they were directly responsible for reducing, or in some cases completely eliminating, Social Security benefits for millions. Now here's where things take a turn, and why this moment matters so much. After years, actually decades of advocacy, discussions, and pushback from organizations, unions, and everyday Americans, a major change has finally been made. The Social Security Fairness Act has officially been signed into law, and with it comes the elimination of both of those provisions entirely. That means the rules that once reduced benefits for so many people are no longer in effect, gone, removed, no longer part of the system moving forward. And what does that actually mean in real terms? It means people who were receiving reduced payments could now see those payments increase, sometimes by a significant amount. It means individuals who were denied benefits altogether in certain situations may now qualify. It means money that should have been there all along is finally being restored. To really understand why this is such a big deal, it helps to take a closer look at what those provisions were actually doing. The Windfall Elimination Provision, or WEP, was designed with a specific idea in mind. The Social Security formula is structured to replace a higher percentage of income for lower earners. Lawmakers were concerned that some individuals who worked in jobs not covered by Social Security might appear to have lower lifetime earnings than they actually did, simply because part of their work history wasn't included in the system. So WEP was introduced to adjust for that. But in practice, it didn't just target edge cases. It ended up reducing benefits for people who had legitimately worked and paid into Social Security for years. Imagine someone who spent part of their career as a public school teacher and then later moved into a private sector job where they paid into Social Security. Even though they contributed to the system, Their benefits were reduced because of how the formula interpreted their earnings history. Or think about someone who worked as a firefighter for years and then took on another job after retirement that contributed to Social Security. Again, reduced benefits not because they didn't earn them, but because of how the system calculated their eligibility. That's where the frustration came from. People weren't asking for extra benefits, they were simply asking to receive what they had already earned. And for years, that didn't happen. Now, with WEP eliminated, those reductions are no longer applied. The formula has changed in a way that better reflects the actual work people have done across their careers. Then there's the Government Pension Offset, or GPO, which had an even deeper impact on families. This rule affected spousal and survivor benefits. If someone received a government pension from a job that didn't pay into Social Security, their Social Security spousal or survivor benefits could be reduced or wiped out entirely. This led to situations where widows and widowers, even after decades of their spouse contributing to Social Security, received little to nothing in benefits. Not because they didn't qualify under normal circumstances, but because of this offset. It created real hardship. Families who expected a certain level of financial support found themselves without it, often at a time when they needed it most. With GPO now repealed, those reductions are gone as well. That opens the door for many people to receive benefits they were previously denied. So now the question becomes, who actually benefits from all of this, and what kind of difference can it make? Estimates suggest that millions of Americans, around 3 million affected by WEP alone, will see an increase in their monthly benefits. On average, that increase could be around a few $100s per month. For some, it may be less. For others, it could be significantly more. When you look at it over the course of a year, that's thousands of dollars. Over the course of retirement, it becomes even more substantial. For those impacted by the government pension offset, the change can be even more dramatic. People who previously received no spousal or survivor benefits may now qualify for payments that can exceed $1,000 per month. Altogether, this change is expected to impact over 3 million Americans. That's not a small group. That's a massive number of people whose financial situations could improve in a meaningful way. And then, there's the issue of retroactive payments. Because of when this law takes effect, some individuals may be eligible for back pay. That means money they should have received in previous months could be paid out in a lump sum. For someone living on a fixed income, that kind of payment can be incredibly important. It could help cover medical expenses, pay down debt, or simply provide a level of financial breathing room that wasn't there before. Now, as important as all of this is, there are still a few things you need to keep in mind to make sure you don't miss out. If you're already receiving Social Security benefits, in many cases, you won't need to take any additional steps. Adjustments are expected to be processed automatically as the system updates. But that doesn't mean you should ignore it completely. It's still important to make sure your information is up to date. Your address, your banking details, your earnings record, everything should be accurate so there are no delays or issues when changes are applied. And it's worth remembering that this is a large-scale update. Millions of cases are being reviewed, so it may take some time before changes show up in your payments. If you don't see an immediate difference, that doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem. It may simply be part of the processing timeline. For those who aren't currently receiving benefits, especially if you delayed claiming because of how these provisions affected you, it may be time to take another look at your options. The rules have changed, and what didn't make sense before could now be worth reconsidering. And if you're someone who was previously denied spousal or survivor benefits because of the government pension offset, it's important to revisit your eligibility. You may now qualify in a way you didn't before. At the same time, it's important to stay cautious. Whenever there are changes involving money and benefits, there's always the risk of scams. No legitimate representative will ask you for payment or sensitive personal information to process these updates. If you receive communication that seems unusual, take the time to verify it through official channels. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, this isn't just about numbers on a statement. It's about correcting something that should have been addressed a long time ago. It's about recognizing the work people have done and ensuring they receive what they've earned. For millions of Americans, especially those who dedicated their careers to public service, this change represents something that goes beyond financial impact. It represents fairness finally being restored. And now, the most important part is making sure that the people who qualify actually know about it, because the difference between knowing and not knowing could mean leaving a significant amount of money unclaimed. So if any part of this sounds like it could apply to you or to someone you know, it's worth taking a closer look, because this isn't just another update you can afford to ignore. It's one that could genuinely change what you receive every single month moving forward.